Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand, marketing and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview the top business leaders in the industry.
Yes, and I'm very excited because today we have a very good friend of mine who, if you're in networking on Long Island, you definitely know her because she's everywhere. She does a lot of work with small businesses. We're very excited to have her. Helping provide us with business empowerment today is a seasoned leader in the employee benefits field. Her name is Sharon Davis, and she's employee benefits counselor at S.J. Edwards Incorporated. Welcome to the show, Sharon.
Thank you, Ray.
We're really glad to have you aboard today. And so for those who don't know you, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, as you said, my name is Sharon Davis. I am the CEO of S.J. Edwards, Inc. I was born and bred in a neighborhood called Bensonhurst in Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to Lafayette High School, Brooklyn College, and eventually became an entrepreneur. Oh. Not my initial goal, but happened, and it happened in a great way. I started out as an insurance agent, as they called them, in the days when you used to deliver death claim checks to the families.
That's what I always see in the movies, right? You see the people handing the people the checks, and that's the only way you know them. But
it doesn't happen anymore. Everything's EFT, ACH. So, but it was great to be able to meet with the family and send our condolences. And the life-changing event for me was when I delivered a $100,000 death claim check to a family in the 80s, and $100,000 was a lot of money at that time.
Right.
And I'll never forget that the young lady I delivered it to had three children. Two were still in diapers, and one was about 5 years old. And the way that she responded when I actually saved her life and the life of her children made me feel that this was an area that I wanted to be involved in because it did help others.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so I guess that was your turning point for saying, you know what, now is that the time when you jumped into starting your own business and launching your business, or did your career field continue some?
I stuck with John Hancock for a long time until I realized that I could not really fit in that corporate box. Because to me, a lot of the corporations were all about the dollars and cents. They were not about the clients. And I know that there was a need for us to educate people about the importance of protecting their families in the event of the unexpected. Disabilities, life insurance, accident insurance, all of those things were very important, but nobody was purchasing them because they didn't understand the need. So I took it up on myself to educate people. It was always called information without obligation.
Wow. And you mentioned the 80s, so you are a seasoned professional. Yes. I'm a child of the 80s, I guess I would say. But, what does your day-to-day look like? How do you really, help people?
Well, I work on me first. Okay. I wake up in the morning, and I always say, I have my birthday. It's the birth of a new day. So I talk about what I'm grateful for to myself, and then I meditate for about 45 minutes, and then I start my day. And I go into the office. I go through a couple of the emails because, the emails, I get about 900 a day. So anything that's urgent, I will respond to. But after that, I go to my task list, my to-do list. I am old-fashioned. I have 10 things on my list that I need to pay attention to on a daily basis. And until I get to those 10 tasks, then I just stay away from social media and all of that and stay focused.
Ooh, she's not like us, right? Yeah. We jump right into social media.
Yeah. It is work.
I'm responding to LinkedIn messages, Facebook messages, instant messages, messages on the phone. It's
Those are all distractions for me. So I have to really focus on what's going to generate revenue and help my clients. And that's most important during the day.
So no one's sliding into your DM, Sharon?
No. Oh, yeah.
Let's dive into the employee benefits side. So Talk a little bit about that, because I do think that, you're helping folks with employee benefits every day. And it's a field that, look, I'm in the financial services field, and I got to tell you that every November when it approaches that time that I'm selecting my benefits, trying to figure stuff out, I'm having a hard time. And so I imagine that others, this is something, that they need help with. So tell us a little about your work there.
Absolutely. And benefits are extremely important to employers because they help you attract and retain quality employees. But if they don't know how to use it, it's useless. It's money that they're spending, and then they're looking at their paycheck every 2 weeks and saying, I'm spending $50 for this. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, what is this doing for me?
Yeah, exactly. And during the pandemic, it was more important than ever that people understand what benefits they had.
Right.
My team will sit down with each individual employee. And Ray, if you would like us to come in and speak to you, we will.
Yes.
And we go over all the benefits each year. It's called an open enrollment. So they choose their benefits, but we actually say, listen, you have this coming to you. You have preventive care that you can get for free. People don't understand that. So they don't want to go to the doctor because, I have a copay. Sometimes you don't.
Now you're speaking my language again. I'm staying away from the doctor. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's important that they understand how it impacts their family. If they have an accident, if they're out on disability, they need to understand, I start getting paid in 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever that is. But people don't understand that. And employers need to allow core enrollment companies like myself to come in and really sit down with each employee, because each employee has different needs.
Right. So you sit in the room of these, big webinars or presentations trying to wonder, like, what box do I check? Where do I fit in? I just went through this last week, and I'm like, I don't really know what I want to do. This is driving me crazy.
Right. It's a lot of information. And that's not what you do. You're a radio host.
Yes.
So that's what you're supposed to do.
I need the subject matter expert.
Exactly. And we simplify it. I call it the KISS method, and it's keep it super simple.
Absolutely.
And people do it. And then they'll call and say, okay, I need to go to the doctor. What does this mean for me? I went out on disability. I had an accident. And then we can explain exactly what their coverage will provide for them.
And that's what the confusing thing is. You have your health care coverage. Then you have your dental that's separate. Yep. And then let's not talk about the vision is separate. And do I want myself, or do I want the family, or do I only want the spouse? I'm like, this is just driving me crazy right now.
Well, that's why it's important, because everyone's individual needs are different. And that's what we bring to the table.
And as entrepreneurs, when you work with people, people who may have, jobs and, W-2 plus their own businesses, how do you, guide people through that whole, if you have insurance already, you can keep your insurance. It's okay to have double,
right.
And I don't think people understand that.
Well, it's about organization too, because I always encourage my clients to have a binder and have all that information at your fingertips. So if you have 2 insurance policies, you see it right there. Yeah. If you have your health insurance, it breaks it down. This is the deductible. This is the copay. But we're not organized when it comes to this. That's one of the problems.
No, I got one of those junk drawer that has
everything in there.
Put all the receipts in there, and then at a certain point you come there and you go, all right, I got to sort through this.
Yes, and you need to do that on a regular basis.
Yes, you really have to do that. You really have to look through that junk drawer, file all your receipts, keep everything together, and I'm thankful that my wife does a very good job of it. Because I'm like the shoemaker who doesn't, who wears the bad shoes. I'm helping other people do this. I know what I'm doing, but then when it comes to my own, you have no time.
Right, that's it, time.
And it's very, very hard, yeah. So, Sharon, I'd love to hear a story about how you've worked with someone on their employee benefits, because there's just a lot of options, a lot of things to try to digest and understand. It's very difficult. So tell us a story about somebody you worked with.
Sure. Well, there was one individual that was hurt on the job and was receiving workers' comp, but also had disability insurance with us through one of the carriers. Did not know that they were eligible for the additional monies. So when we found out about that, we called and said, well, you can get, in addition to the workers' comp, you can get this disability benefit. And they were overjoyed. They needed it because they were out for about 3 months due to a surgery. Yeah. And this really helped them. And they got a lump sum of money and all the benefits that they were eligible for.
And that happens all the time. There are so many folks that it's even like a simple operation. I have a very good friend of mine who he's been off his feet for quite a while, literally, because he had like a foot surgery thing. And you know what? For his job, it does require that he's standing a lot. So he's been out of work for 90 days or plus. So it's important that you kind of check that box, as Donyshia said. You got to make sure you're doing that.
That's right. That's right.
Now, tell us about your work with small businesses, because, there's the employee side and there's also, the employer side. And you mentioned, it's really important for small businesses to offer these benefits so that they attract really good talent. I can't stress that enough. So tell us a little bit on the small business side, how things work.
Yeah, exactly. When I sit down with a small business owner, I try to come up with a strategy for them and design a plan for them that they can present to potential employees. And when they hire the employee, to retain them. So we do sit down, and again, the same way that I sit down with an individual and look at their needs, I sit down with a small business owner and say, what are your needs? What are your desires? How do you want to handle this? Who do you want to hire? And then we try to strategize for that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You are listening to Tara Talk Business Radio on the voice of National Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, and our guest today is Sharon Davis, Employee Benefits Counselor at S.J. Edwards Incorporated. Now, people are leaving money on the table. We got to talk about this. You did a great seminar the other day in partnership with another organization. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that because, after everything small business has gone through with the pandemic, it's very important that we're not leaving money on the table. So tell us about your work with the employee tax credits.
Sure. Thanks. Well, as you know, there's been some very challenging times for small business owners over the last couple of years, and individuals as well, but the business owners really had to try to keep their doors open. And with the CARES Act, there were several programs available, the PPP, the EIDL, and the one that we're going to talk about today, the ERC, which is the Employee Retention Credit. And the amazing thing is that a lot of people don't even know about this. This has been amended since the CARES Act was signed into law in March of 2020, so that it's extended to more people. But still, a lot of people don't know about it. So that's one of the reasons that I had the seminar the other day, just to, again, give information without obligation. This money is available to employers that have W-2 employees and kept them on the books during the pandemic and were impacted by the pandemic. So most employers were impacted. About 70 or 80% of the employers out there would be eligible for this money. Now, they can get up to $26,000 per employee. So if you do the math, if they have 10 employees, that's $250,000 that's on the table. And all they do is find out if they qualify. They can go onto my website. I have a Employee Retention Tax Credit tab. They can go on and then they can fill out that survey. And it takes 15 minutes to find out if you qualify. But so many people are not doing it because they have misconceptions. One misconception, which is major, is that if I got PPP, can I get the ERC? And the answer is yes.
There you go. And that's extremely impactful. I know of a nonprofit that they got the employee tax credits, and then what they did was they turned around and so these are employees that work for them that their salary is $30,000. They're doing hard work, they're doing God's work, and they're earning a $30,000 salary, and now all of a sudden they get a bonus of $26,000. Think of that impact. I mean, that's just crazy. Now, I'm sure that you have stories of organizations that you've worked with. Can you tell us a success story in that area for the employee tax credits, just so that folks get an idea of kind of the scope of what this does for someone? Yeah,
well, like you said, nonprofits definitely need to look into this more because, as you said, they're doing the hard work, not the hard work. They're doing the hard work.
I love that.
And we have one nonprofit that did apply, qualified, and their intention is to invest it back into, because let me mention this also. This is not a loan, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to tell the government how you're using the money. So hopefully everyone will invest back in the business.
Right.
Some people will walk away with it, but most people will invest in their business. But that nonprofit said that they were excited because now they can continue some of the services that they had to eliminate due to the pandemic. And they received they're receiving a substantial amount of money. It takes a while for the IRS to send these checks out. So we're talking 6 months down the line maybe before they get their first check. But
of course,
that's
the
their
IRS
intention.
takes a long time.
Yes, they're backlogged.
But not to track you down.
Yeah, they'll take out of your check, no problem.
Right. And so, I mean, we're living in times where, you're seeing everywhere that hiring employees is just hard to do. And so how do you guide small business owners to say, okay, these are some incentives or some programs that you may like to include in your benefit plan?
Well, a lot of people want to work from home now. So one of the things you can do is say 2 or 3 days out of the week you can work from home as long as we can monitor what you're doing and you're productive. That by itself has opened doors for a lot of people because nobody wants to go out anymore. And now we're spoiled because we can Zoom and see 25 people versus driving all over the place and seeing one person every hour. So that's one of the incentives, and that's an important one. So I like to see my team. I like to interact with them. We're all engaged. So for me, it's different because we're one-on-one. We meet with clients one-on-one. But for those people who can just sit at a computer and type it in, that's one of the options.
Are there certain like fields of business where they are leaning more towards remote and less towards in-person, or vice versa?
Well, in my business, a lot of what we do is one-on-one, as I was saying. We like to sit down, so it's hard to Zoom. I mean, we do the webinars, like Donyshia was saying. I hear the webinar, but it's still important for us to meet with people one-on-one in my industry.
And I think that's also something the business needs to consider is that, well, what are the needs of the clients? You know, can my clients be serviced where, you know, we have a workforce that's remote. And, you know, that sometimes is a tough decision. I guess in the IT field, it's probably the easiest because folks working remotely there, you know, my brother, it's funny, he'll get offers all the time. And if there is 10% of on-site time, he just goes, no, thanks. I'm happy, you know, running networking for hospitals from my living room. You know, with my cat's crawling on my shoulder, you know. But
it's amazing,
and he enjoys it, and that's the way that he works. And so that's the other thing. You have to understand your employee and how they like to work, too.
There you go. And you have to be able to trust them as well, to not be in the refrigerator all day. And
Sharon.
Which is the danger,
Is the danger.
Still suffering from 2 years of that.
Yes. I call it the COVID-19 pounds.
Yes, indeed. Those pandemic pounds really are hitting us hard. And so, you know, when you look at that for employee benefits, I recall years ago they had, you know, incentives, wellness incentives, right? Or wellness plans. Is that becoming, you know, is that the new norm now for employers?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There are a lot of companies that offer we have in our voluntary benefits. If you go to the doctor, you get a benefit of $50 or $100 just by going for your preventive care once a year. And then there was one company that had a whole maintenance, I guess you would call it a maintenance program, where they had walking together. They all bought Fitbits and they were competing against each other. So it's important. Wow. I mean, our health, if we didn't realize anything in the last 2 years, your immune system and all that is very important. So we want to educate people about the wellness benefits.
I think you sparked an idea with Ray because he's like competition.
Competition?
It's all me.
It's also, for me, culture. You know, I'll throw that out there because what you just said, not only is that a benefit and not only is that working towards the health of the employee who then is a better worker because they're not calling out sick, but you're also creating a culture where folks are working together.
Yes.
And it's not just about what you're doing in the trenches. It's about your life.
Yeah.
And so I love that.
It boosted the morale in that organization, too, a lot because they had teams.
Right.
You know, like you say, Ray. You know.
All right. So businesses, if you're listening out there, talk to Sharon about a wellness program there because there's a lot of ripples. You know, there's a ripple effect to that.
Understanding it and knowing about it is very important. Yeah.
Absolutely. You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Sharon Davis, Employee Benefit Counselor at S.J. Edwards, Inc. My name is Donyshia Boston-Hill, along with Ray Schwetz on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Now, Sharon, speaking about loving your work, I know you love your work because every time I see you, you're smiling. I don't think I've ever seen you down, even when we're talking about challenges. So what is it that you like most about what you do?
Well, I believe in the philosophy that when you help others, you help yourself. And this is the perfect career for me because I'm always helping families. I say I bring hope when there's despair sometimes. I don't always like getting that phone call that says Papa John passed away and he said to call you first, or, you know, I'm out on disability, what do I need? But I know that I've done my job when I get that call and somebody is, you know, benefits from it. So, yeah, I believe in helping others because there's a boomerang out there. When you help others, you really do help yourself. So this was a perfect career for me. And it's my journey's been 4 decades. So I've met a lot of people. And the fact that I always tell my team, we don't have clients or customers. We have friends and family.
Yeah.
So treat people the way you would like to be treated.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I recalled, years ago, my first experience with losing a coworker on the job. It was just traumatic. I think the entire employee workforce, Chris Nadler, rest in peace, he was just amazing, a spirit, and went on vacation and just, we lost him. So, which brings me up to the pandemic where we had a lot of loss.
Yes.
How was that mentally on you, your company, and how are you dealing with that from a provider standpoint? Yeah,
well, we've lost friends. I even lost my own mom in 2020, so I know the impact of it all. It's hard to even imagine that we went through this, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's still like a blur in everybody's eyes, but we lost a lot of friends, and it has impacted some of the employers because, like you said, they have valuable employees that just passed away like that.
Right.
And just, I don't even know what to say at that point. It's a great question, though, but a lot of very valuable employees were lost, and employers are trying to make up for that. But it's very hard to replace a valuable employee who has the experience over the years.
Right.
And I also think there's a lot of folks who they got to a certain point where they said, you know what, after going through this, I think I'm retiring early, or I think I'm moving,
good point.
And then they're changing careers. So there's also I think a lot of us, it was a pause. It was a pause in the business. It was a pause in how we do things. We started to rethink things. I think it did give us an opportunity, in some ways to kind of look at what are we doing here and how can we do better.
And what really matters.
Yeah.
And what really matters, And so I guess my question would also be, is there a lot of, I know you as an employee take out insurance, but also do employers have insurance on their employees?
Yes, they should. They should have, they have group plans for life insurance. And fortunately, a lot of our clients did have the group life insurance, which at least gave the families $10, $15, $20, or $50,000 upon the death of some of those employees. And the employer would pay for that. So there are ways that you can provide those benefits at the employer's expense, and it's minimal. It's group insurance, so the risk is spread out over the whole 400 employees or whatever it is. So it can be reasonably priced, but it's something that, again, a benefit that people should provide for their employees.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you think about that amount, it's an amount that's needed, but it's not an amount that replaces what that person's doing, what that person's work will bring to the organization and to the home. So do you work with other providers, or do you provide additional coverage for people?
So you're talking about the employer?
Yeah. Does the employer – well, actually, I guess I'm talking more about the employee. So I'm kind of shifting back. But for the employee, do you work with do you work with a business that offers additional coverage, volunteer coverage that they can purchase to bring up that benefit?
Oh, yes. The employees can I call out a company name? It's Aflac, Colonial.
Sure.
There are a couple of companies that I work with, and they provide additional benefits that are available to the employee at their expense.
Right.
And that's, again, where the one-on-ones are very important, because people don't realize what those benefits do and what they provide. And for cents on a dollar, you can purchase a lot of coverage. And on your family as well. Critical illness is something that's become very popular after the pandemic because of heart attack, stroke, end-stage renal disease. All of those things are in our face right now. So, again, the one-on-one counseling is extremely important so that people understand they can purchase additional coverage.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Now, there's obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of misconceptions about this business. What are the biggest misconceptions you see when you're speaking to employers or employees in what you do?
That I sell insurance. I don't sell insurance. I provide protection. I protect families, and I provide quality customer service. I don't sell insurance. I don't sell anything, because when you sell something, somebody can always go somewhere else and find it cheaper.
Right.
But when you provide service, people stick with you over the years.
But it's not about the price. It's about the how you're helping them. It's about the information you're bringing them and how you're delivering it.
Yeah. And customer service is you don't see it anymore. Whenever you pick up the phone and call somebody, what do you get? Dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, dial 3 for this. Are you Russian? Are you Spanish? It's enough already. I tell my team we pick up the phone when somebody calls because they're not just a number to us. Like I said, they're family and friends. And we don't choose the client chooses us. So when you call some of these larger corporations, it's very frustrating. And half the time you're on listening to this music, it's very nice, and you get cut off. I put them on speaker now, and I continue to work. And for 45 minutes, I'm listening to this lovely song, and then nobody comes on. So it's important to pick up the phone.
Absolutely. Or they now call you back.
Yeah.
So I know Ray wanted to jump right into what's your advice for small businesses out there?
Okay. First of all, quality. Always provide the best that you can. Quantity. Always do more than is expected. And service. Give it cheerfully and give the best that you can. And you have 86,400 seconds in a day. Don't waste one of them on negative environments, toxic relationships, or anything that doesn't serve you. And stay focused on the end of the game. Don't look to the left or the right. Just stay focused.
I love that. Now, I still find it hard to believe that you've had a 40-year career doing this. But that said, looking back, what is the one accomplishment that you go, wow, I'm so proud that we did this? What's that major accomplishment for you?
Well, I'm a Hall of Famer for the top 50 most influential women in Long Island, which I never would have expected 40 years ago. One of the only minority women to hold that title. And you have to be nominated and selected 3 times in order to be a Hall of Famer. So I'm very proud of that.
I think that's an amazing thing to be. And
Absolutely.
And they asked me to present some of the women last year, which was great. And I said, I can't believe how much swag is in the room. And swag means special women achieving greatness.
Nice.
Wow.
That's an original, Sharon Davis.
Well, we'll keep that. And what's the one thought you want to leave our listener with? And what is the best way for us to contact you?
Always think of the client first. As I said, they're your family, they're your friends. They support you, you support them. So everybody has to win in that situation. So if anyone wants to reach me, my website is www.sjedwards.com. And my phone number is 516-208-9988. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. You've really shared a lot of great information with us. And before we go, we have to leave you with DB's philosophy.
DB's philosophy: if you wake up deciding what you want to give versus what you're going to get, you become a more successful person. Russell Simmons.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston-Hill, your co-host and producers. This is an NCC Foundation production. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcast, and Speaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the Nassau Community College Foundation on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.